If this has ever been you, if you felt that flinch when you were about to make a purchase or make a financial decision that you could easily afford, this episode is for you.
Almost no one really, though, prepares you for how to spend what you saved, right? We always say that sometimes the accumulation part is the easy part, right? It's how you decumulate or it's how you spend the money that can sometimes be more challenging.
So the reality is that when you experience money guilt, it is rarely about math. It's rarely about numbers, right? It's all about the story that we attach to that spending or to that decision. Hello, welcome back.
Hello, great to be here with you as always.
Great to see you as always too, gorgeous Atricia. Welcome back, everybody, to Living Richly with Curo. This is episode 99 or 99 for those of you who speak Spanish. So it feels like a big episode. Next one is going to be huge. So
Major milestone.
But thank you so much for joining us. My name is Ann McCabe. I am the CEO and a partner here at Curo Private Wealth, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely partner, Atricia.
Hello, I am Atricia Roberts, COO and partner here at Curo. Thanks so much for checking out the pod this week. If you're a first-time listener, welcome. If you're a Curo Living Richly OG, welcome back.
We appreciate you all of the above. But if this is your first time checking us out, we are here to educate, inspire, and empower you on your financial journeys. And we are so excited about today's topic because we are going to be talking about spending money on joy. And this is something that Atricia and I really enjoy talking about and coaching our clients through. And believe it or not, it's a tough conversation to coach clients through, but we have quite a bit of experience. So we're going to share some tips and tricks with you today. But I will never forget years ago, I think this client has been a client for, I want to say like 6 or 7 years at this point. But we were sitting down with her when she was a prospective client and she was already retired. She was in her 60s and she was invited on a trip that she really wanted to go on, but she said no. And even though, when we were looking through her finances, she obviously had worked very hard. She had saved for many years. She had a great pension. She was and is very financially secure. She was not sure that she could swing it. And that was actually one of the main reasons that she reached out to us is she's like, I don't want to keep saying no to these things that I really want to do, but I just don't know if I can swing it, if it's, too indulgent, or if this is something that I can really do. So if this has ever been you, if you felt that flinch when you were about to make a purchase or make a financial decision that you could easily afford, this episode is for you. So we're super excited to get into the meat of the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. We love talking about spending money. It's always a fun topic to have. And it's one that clients don't typically expect you to say, right? They always think that we're going to tell you not to do it. So it's fun to think about it a little different. But, we're headed into or maybe fully into summer by now, or at least it feels like it. It's been a warm one here in our area. And usually summer is about joy, right? If you have children, they're probably out of school, they're hanging around, they're more relaxed. Your schedule probably is not as tight unless you're Ann and you're still, doing baseball and hockey year round.
All year long.
Right. You might be planning trips. So typically the mood lightens in the summer. And so we like to keep it light. And this topic is going to be, I think, one of those really fun, light ones. And so everybody talks about how to save, right? You get so much education on how to save your money, how to be a responsible saver. Almost no one really, though, prepares you for how to spend what you saved, right? We always say that sometimes the accumulation part is the easy part, right? It's how you decumulate or it's how you spend the money that can sometimes be more challenging. So we see this a lot, especially in high achieving women. And just shared a wonderful example of that. And so sometimes the bigger the success, sometimes the bigger the guilt, right, around the spending. So it means that maybe you're losing control. Things are getting out of hand, right, in your expenses. And it could be a quiet belief that you have to earn the joy of spending over and over and over again, right? How many times have you yourself said or heard a friend said, "Oh, I'm going to treat myself this time," right? I'll upgrade the flight because I'm going to treat myself this time. We always see it as something that you have to earn. And so now we want to maybe talk about some ways to reposition that thinking for yourself when you're spending your money.
Yeah. So Atricia talked about the guilt, right? And that guilt is real. So we need to talk about where that guilt comes from, where it stems from. So the reality is that when you experience money guilt, it is rarely about math. It's rarely about numbers, right? It's all about the story that we attach to that spending or to that decision. And these are money stories. We've talked about our money journeys. We've talked about things we've learned from our mothers before. So we've talked a lot about the stories that we inherit oftentimes about money. And we have this definition in our mind around who deserves to enjoy money and maybe who doesn't deserve to enjoy money. And a lot of us and a lot of our clients grew up watching our mothers or maybe our grandmothers go without. And so spending money on yourself can feel a little bit like a betrayal, like you're doing something wrong, right? Because if a woman in your life who you looked up to acted a certain way, and a lot of times that was not indulging, not spending the money, etc., you can think that you're doing something wrong if you make the decision to spend money. This is especially the case for first generation wealth builders. This can feel really hard because there's no roadmap. There's no permission that was handed down to you. There's perhaps no example of somebody who did this really well in your life. And also for those women who were helping through a life transition, so a divorce or widowhood, this is also extremely hard because money can be tied to security and safety, and spending it can feel like you're literally making the decision to give up your security or safety. And then there's the achievers trap. So Atricia was talking about high achieving women. And so what we see time and time again is it's not easy to just turn off the discipline switch, right? If you spent years and years saving and accumulating, and now all of a sudden we just expect you to flip this switch and start spending, it becomes really hard, sometimes impossible to like loosen that grip that you have been trying so hard to hold on to for, in some cases, many decades. So that's really where the guilt comes from.
Yeah. And I'll share a personal sort of experience because Anne knows this about me. I will sometimes agonize over the big purchases. I think we've shared on this podcast before the story about me buying this bed, right? It
The
became one
bed. Oh my God, the bed. I was going to go to the store and buy it for her.
and like just buy the bed.
Oh my God.
But what I realized, and to Anne's point about the money stories that we have, our money beliefs, is that even though I grew up in what I would guess I call like a lower middle class sort of income family, I do remember that when large unexpected things would come up, it would feel like something that was financially devastating, right? The AC went out. It's like, oh God, how are we going to, repair the AC unit? And so I realized for me, a lot of the money stories I tell myself is around being concerned that I'm going to spend money and then something's going to happen and it's going to be money I should have been prepared to use for that thing. So that's one of the things that I myself am working through. And sometimes it's helpful to have a wonderful partner who will encourage you to just go buy the
To
bed.
buy the bed. Take the trip, buy the bed.
Right. So, of course, here at Living Richly, we love to give you really workable tips and ideas. And so now we want to start setting up this permission framework or how you can spend money on joy with intention, right? Being intentional about the things that bring you joy. So I think the first thing that we want to offer, so this is number one, is name those things that actually bring you joy, right? You want to have an idea of what those things really are. So before you spend any money, get clear on the things that you genuinely value. That might be your family, that might be travel, that might be really nice art. It may be philanthropic, right? You may be really passionate about giving. It may just be about time, right? Having more time or being or comfortable. And so you really want to get an idea of the things that really are valued to you, right? And not just things that you can go out and buy. Most of the guilt that we experience, to go back to that guilt point, comes from spending on things that you think you should want, right? But joy comes from spending on what you actually do want. So it may sound good that you drive a really nice car, but is that something that's going to really spark joy, right, in your life? Is that you're driving a really nice vehicle? It may not be that. So, two of the most underrated forms of spending on joy is buying back time. And I think we've talked about this a little bit, right? We love this one at the Living Richly Pod, buying back your time. So, think about the house cleaner or grocery delivery, right? Spending money on those tasks that you dread, the things that you just don't want to do, they don't invite or spark joy in your life. And then also in giving generously while you're also alive to see the impact. I think for many, especially if you're a saver or a person who's really disciplined, you love to see, good happen to you and others around you in the world. And so you get to experience a lot of that legacy now when you find ways to give. And so now here's a quick test. I want you to ask yourself, does this purchase buy you more of what you value, meaning time, connection, health, meaning, or delight? And if the answer is yes, it is aligned with your spending and it's not frivolous. Okay, so ask yourself that question. Is it going to buy me more of what I value? And if the answer to that is yes, then that means it is aligned to your values and something that might actually bring you joy.
Yeah, I love that question. It's just a great little test. Yeah, and we're definitely seeing more and more clients to the gifting topic, gift while they're alive, right? Because it's sad to think that you spend all these years accumulating and you're a great saver and, hopefully you're working with us and we're doing a great job of managing your investments and, helping them grow for you, but you're not able to see the fruits of all that labor when you pass away and at that point your kids inherit your assets. So we are definitely seeing clients wanting to start talking about gifting while they're alive so that they're able to really help their kids when they need it most and be able to see that help as well. So, all right, number 2 in our framework, we want you to build joy into your plan, not around it. So, when joyful spending is an actual line item, maybe in your spending plan or in your financial plan, the guilt loses that grip on it because it is something that is planned and it is intentional, to go back to what Atricia was talking about earlier. So it's no longer, a 2 a.m. splurge, right? Like a random Instagram ad that you see and you click on it at 2 o'clock in the morning. It becomes a decision that was very thoughtful and very intentional and very aligned with your values and what is important to you and what brings you joy, as Atricia was just talking about with point number 1.
So our third point here, and this was been a big one for me and helping me not agonize over purchases, is to separate the fun money from the security money. Okay. And we have talked ad nauseum on this podcast about the importance of short-term emergency cash reserves. Like I feel like now horns or something should go off every time we say cash reserves.
I know. Exactly.
Right. But when your essential needs and long-term security are clearly funded, it really helps you rest and that you can enjoy the fun things without second guessing yourself, right? So when you are working on a spending plan, one of the things we always say is pay yourself first, right? So allocate the money. If you need to, let's say, replenish the short-term emergency reserves, you're going to allocate the money for the long-term retirement plan or Roth IRA contributions. And so when you know that those things are already set, then anything that's extra, you can feel less guilty about spending on the things that bring you joy. Knowing is the foundation, and it is what helps you to actually relax into the joy, right? To be able to make those purchases and not have them feel agonizing. I love this, but clarity kills the guilt. And one of the things we talk about a lot with what we want to do with our clients at Curo is take them from being unsure, disorganized, to being very clear, very organized, and very assured in their financial planning. And this is why we love planning so much, is because it creates that level of clarity for our clients so that you can make those fun, joy purchase decisions without feeling guilty about it.
Yeah, and one of the tools that we use with clients that we love is called the decision center, and I think the decision center is so powerful because we can show clients in real time visually how making certain decisions, so maybe it's increasing their travel budget, or maybe it's gifting more to charity, or maybe it's gifting to their kids, but we can show them in real time through that decision center how those decisions impact their financial plan, and assuming that they're still on track, they still have a very high probability of success in their plan. That's what gives them that confidence and that clarity that you were talking about. So it's such a powerful tool to know that you're not being frivolous and you can swing it. And if it's something that's important to you, then you should.
Yeah, I absolutely love those moments in the decision center. I
Yeah.
call it when you can see the client light up
Yep. The
because you
light
actually
bulb.
because you can actually show them like, no, you can buy that condo at the beach, right? And still not run out of money. And they're like, oh my God, like she's giving
Yeah.
me actual permission and it's backed up with actual real planning. It's such a powerful moment in the
Yeah.
relationship we have with clients.
Yeah. Absolutely. One of my favorites for sure. Okay, number 4 in our framework. We want you to just practice the small yeses before the big ones. Okay, so if taking a 2-week trip feels impossible, start with something smaller. Maybe it's a weekend trip, a long weekend away to somewhere, closer that you've wanted to check out. Maybe it's going out to a really nice dinner if that's something that feels frivolous or irresponsible to you, but you think you would enjoy it. Atrice and I are big foodies, so we can get back that we can get behind that one. Maybe it's upgrading to a better seat at a concert or at a sporting event, or maybe it's going for the economy plus on the plane. I don't know. Whatever it is for you. If we're not going first class or business, maybe we're just going economy plus. There's a decent amount of extra
Oh,
legroom there.
that
So
extra leg room is significant in the
it
economy
really is.
class.
It really is. Yeah. Maybe it's something that you've always like talked yourself out of. So we just want you to take a baby step, just test it out and see how that feels, because enjoying spending your money is a muscle. And just like we do reps in the gym to build the muscle, right? We're not going to build muscle after one workout, unfortunately. Don't we wish we could? But this is also a muscle that we need to get used to building, and we're going to build it with those reps. So we want you to just start one small yes at a time. But then the key is to really check in with yourself afterwards. So, how did that feel? Was spending a little bit more money on more legroom on the plane worth it, or at that concert? So, just really, this is where it goes back to the first point that Atricia made about getting aligned and getting clear about what is important to you and what really sparks joy. It's important to have some time to reflect on really how you feel. And if you're like, yeah, that really wasn't worth it, then that gives you really good data for next time that you make a decision. On the other hand, if you're like, oh my gosh, that was an incredible experience, I will never forget it, and that feels very aligned with what's important to me, that is really, really good data for you to have for future decisions as well.
Yeah, I will never forget the time when my cousin, who is one of the cheapest people I have ever met, but he came in town to visit me and my sister, and we wanted to go see a movie. And we were like, oh, let's go to the iPic. And he could not believe that we wanted to actually spend $26 on a movie ticket. He was like, the AMC is like 16. Well, even now, I think the AMC is probably 20.
Yeah, right.
But he could not believe it. And I'm like, please, let's just try it, right? Just say yes this one time. We went to the movies. As soon as he reclines that seat and puts on that blanket and they bring him that popcorn, he was like, okay, now I get it, right? Like now I get why people are paying this amount of money. So sometimes even the small things you'll realize like, well, yeah, this was actually worth it. It really improved my experience. So I love that idea of just the small yeses. They can really help. Okay, so now we want to share some common traps to avoid because we want to be clear about what we are saying and what we are not saying. Okay. So the first trap we want you to avoid is waiting for the someday that keeps moving, right? For many people, oh, someday I'll do it. And then they move the goalpost, right? Oh, maybe one day I'll do it. Maybe when I'm this age, or maybe when I make this much money, I'll spend or I'll take that trip. Maybe we'll do it. We want you to avoid that trap. Okay. There's rarely ever this magical moment that happens in your life that makes the guilt go away on spending, right? So waiting for that someday is a trap that we want you to avoid. Also, swinging to the opposite extreme. Okay. Permission to spend is not the same as not having a spending plan. So we're not saying now just go out and spend all of the money. Intention here is the goal, spending intentionally. Outsourcing the decision to the plan is also something we want to rely on. So we talked about the decision center, right? Letting the plan make the call so that you don't feel guilty about it, right? And so we don't want to keep not relying on the plan and just running the old story in our heads over and over again about those money beliefs that we've had. And then confusing frugality with virtue. Okay, so being frugal does not make you better than every other person who may spend money. Being careful with money is a strength, right? So it is a strength, but just like any sort of discipline, right? It is a strength, but never enjoying things is not the same as being wise, right? So depriving yourself does not mean necessarily that you're being virtuous. So we want you to avoid those traps as much as possible.
All right, so let's close out and let's talk about some real, I would say simple next steps that you can consider for yourself. So, to recap here, what we're saying is that you don't have to choose between being responsible and being happy. A good plan makes room for both. So, go back to that framework that we talked about earlier. And we really want you to take a moment to reflect. So, if you only have a couple of minutes, just take a couple of minutes right now to reflect. What is one thing that you have been talking yourself out of? And consider this entire episode your permission slip to maybe take a different approach on that thing that you have been considering for a while. Now, we have an optional exercise for you if you've got more like 15 minutes to sit down and do a little reflection. But we want you to write down three things that you've wanted to either do, buy, or experience this year, but you've talked yourself out of it. And then we want you to write the real reason why you said no to each. So just like Atricia took the time to reflect on why the bed purchase was so agonizing for her, we want you to do the same about any of these things you've been thinking about that have been really challenging for you to actually follow through with. And most people are shocked to know that it's not really the money in most cases. And then we just want you to pick one of the things and take the smallest next step that you can. So we don't want it to feel like a gigantic leap. We just want you to take the smallest next step. So in the gym, think about picking up a 3-pound dumbbell and doing some bicep curls. Like, no big deal, right? We're not asking you to bench press 200 pounds. Just take the next small step and see how that feels. And just as a reminder, we are Anne and Atricia here at Living Richly with Curo, and we love to help women feel calm, organized, and confident about their money. So if today's conversation hit home with you, please consider sharing it with a friend. And if you'd like to have a conversation, we would welcome that as well. And you can find out more information on our website at curoprivatewealth.com. So with that,
Well,
Atricia, do you
wait,
have a closing
before
thought?
before you go to the closing thought, I'm going
Oh,
to ask you sort of an unscripted question.
okay.
If you're willing to share, what things do you spend that bring you joy, that you spend money on?
Mm,
What are
yeah.
those things that are valued in your life?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll answer that question and I will actually share a story that I thought about when you were sharing the story about your cousin. So I think I have shared this story before, but many of you know that I have a sister who passed away. It's been over 10 years now. But when she was a few months away from dying, which we didn't know exactly when it was going to happen, but she was, we knew that it was towards the end. She wanted to us all to go on a trip, the family to go on a trip to Dubai to visit my oldest brother who was living there. He was a pilot for Emirates. And at the time, it was in December, so it was around the holidays. Work is always crazy for us in December. And even though we were getting a really good deal on the tickets, it was still going to be a lot of money. And I felt this extreme amount of guilt of spending all this money right before the holidays. And my ex husband's business wasn't doing well at the time. So, anyway, all these reasons why I was trying to talk myself out of it. And thankfully, I decided to go on the trip. And I will tell you, it is one of the most memorable trips of my life. I cannot even imagine the regret I would have felt had I given in to all of those voices that were telling me not to do it. And I have these amazing memories now with my sister. She passed away in April the following year, so literally 4 months later, and I just can't imagine, like, I think about that all the time, and I can't imagine if we hadn't have taken that trip, and it was an amazing time. So, that's one example, but I would say my top 2 categories that I spend money on that bring me immense amounts of joy is, 1, I outsource a lot of things, as you know, Teresa. I don't clean my own house. Somebody helps me with my laundry, grocery shopping, like just, we are very busy running this business and I'm also very busy with my kids. And so that is something that I am happy to spend money on and it buys me time, which is the only asset that actually, we can't create more of. And so it's an incredibly valuable asset. So that is one thing I am happy to spend money on. And I am super clear on the things that I enjoy doing and the things that I do not enjoy doing. Cleaning my house is at the top of the list. The second thing that I love spending money on is experiences. So I love traveling. I love taking my kids on amazing trips and experiences. And again, those are memories, just like I was talking about with my sister and the rest of my family, that I will have forever. So you'll always hear me talking about the next trip we're going to take, or I take each of my kids away for their birthdays every year on a one-on-one trip. And so I am happy to spend money on those two things.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And I
Yeah.
love the story about going to Dubai with your sister. I couldn't imagine you not
Oh
taking.
my gosh. I know. And when I tell you I was close to not doing it, I was very
Yeah,
close to not doing it.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, your turn.
Okay, so the things that I value, and they're kind of similar to yours, I call it convenience. I will pay a premium to reduce my stress and anxiety, right? So I'll share a story. My sister and I went to Aruba on our sister's trip last summer. And my sister is always on TikTok, right? Like looking at trips. And everybody was talking about the chaos of the Aruba airport when you're coming back through because you clear customs for the US on the Aruba side. And so the line can be hours long. And then she discovered this service where you can pay, I think for the both of us, it ended up being $160 US, where they will basically escort you from the curb to the customs desk. I was like, sign me up.
Best
I
$160 ever. I
and
would have
don't
paid
have to.
more for that.
And so we get to the airport. The line is snaked around. Most of it is waiting outside in the hot Aruban sun. And I thought to myself, the best $160 you have ever spent. So I will pay for conveniences, right? And things that buy me time and reduce my stress. I too have a house cleaner, even though I don't have kids. But scrubbing tubs doesn't bring me joy. The other thing is probably on experiences in travel, right? I love to go to new countries, experience new cultures. I describe myself as a global citizen, right? I want to go to a new city. I want to do the public transit system. I want to try to speak the language. Those things just enrich and fill me up so much. And then the other thing, and we mentioned being foodies, is a nice meal. I'm never going to skimp on a really good dinner, right? Just a really wonderful experience, really good food. Those are things that I'm always willing to pay the premium for. And then gifts for other people. I love seeing people react really positively to a gift that you've given them. So it's much easier for me to spend money on other people than it is on myself. I think I'm a gifts love language, and it really shows in the way I even give gifts now. I always try to be thoughtful and think about what they would love or something that they would mention, and just like that moment of like, oh my God, you remembered this. That fills me with a lot of
Yeah. I can attest you're an amazing gift giver.
joy. I try to be,
I
but so
have
are
I
you.
have been the beneficiary, thankfully. Very thoughtful
Yeah.
always. I'm always like, "Oh my god, how do you know?"
No, you give great gifts as well.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. All right, now are we ready for our closing thought?
Yes. Now we can
Okay,
close.
okay. You go first.
Okay. And I think this maybe ties in with the waiting on the someday to happen or waiting for the someday. So there have been recent events in my personal life where I think I've had to contend with the idea of the fact that we'd never know when our time is up right here on the earth. I've experienced some health challenges with friends in my group, friends who've experienced loss in their families. And as tough as it is, it's always a reminder for me that we never know, no matter how old or how young, we never know. And so doing our best to live really good lives, to do good in the world, to enjoy the moments when we can are really important. So it's been a real reminder for me, but also a reminder to take care of yourself, right? Both physically, mentally, emotionally, because those things also weigh on you. They weigh on how you experience the world. And so I really want to be able to do it for myself and for my friends to help take what feel like really tragic moments and find ways where we can turn them into something positive and encouraging for ourselves. So I was sharing with Anne a little bit of sort of a really severe health challenge one of my friends is having. And so now we're kind of using this as motivation in our friend group to get healthier just across the board, right? Trying to drink less and work out more and using what were really bad moments to try to fuel something that is positive and helping us live better lives and not take any moment, any second for granted that we get to be here. So I just want to share that with the listeners, the viewers, a reminder for yourself that time is finite, right? And we don't know how much of it we're going to get. So don't wait for the someday, right? You never know when that someday is going to be. Do what you can to live the best life you can today. Why
Amazing.
not?
Yeah. Thank you for that reminder. Because I think people say that all the time, like, you never know, tomorrow's not guaranteed. But I think that some people just say and it becomes a little cliche, but it's so true. So true. And it's an important, I think that helps us all live the most full lives today is by knowing that we don't have any guarantees of the future.
We do not. So
Yeah. Thank you for
that's it.
sharing.
Of
I'm
course.
sorry. I'm sorry that you all had to go through
Yeah.
that experience, but thank you for using that as a very important reminder for the rest of us.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. What's on your mind today, partner?
Okay, I have a book,
Of
Reco.
course you do. Yay.
So the book is called The Art of Spending Money, and it is a fantastic book by Morgan Housel. And if you are interested in the topic that we talked about today and doing a deeper dive for yourself, this is a wonderful book to check out. And actually, a little shout out for the Curo Summer Book Club that we're doing. This is one of the possible books that we may read. There are 3 books that we have on the list, and we're having our listeners and viewers vote on them. So if you're interested in checking that out, you can send us an email at podcast@curoprivatewealth.com to cast your vote. But this is a wonderful book to check out if you're interested in doing a deeper dive on the idea of spending money and being really clear about what sparks you joy. And then I have a little bit of a bonus, and that's just another question that we didn't specifically include, but this question does come from the book. And the question is, when you're about to make a decision about a purchase or an investment, an experience, whatever, the question that we want you to ask yourself is, will I be happy in 5 years that I made this decision? Or on the flip side, will I be regretful that I did not make this decision? So just like I was sharing with you all about the Dubai trip, I 100%, not only would I regret it 5 years later, I still more than 10 years
Right.
later would have immense amounts of regret at not taking that experience and taking that opportunity to spend more time with my sister before she left us. So that is another little question to put in the toolbox as you're considering your spending moving forward is, will I be glad that I did this in 5 years, or will I be regretful if I don't do it?
Yeah, I love that. It's a good reminder. Always keeping you focused on what matters, right? The things that actually spending with intentionality, I think.
Yeah.
So it's a good question to ask yourself.
Yeah, exactly. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for tuning in for another episode. We will see you in a couple of weeks for episode 100.
Woo-hoo!
So exciting. So thank you again. We'll see you then. And until next time.
Live richly. No, really, live richly.
No, really. Thanks again for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who might benefit from it. Friendly reminder that this is for informational purposes only. For additional information, please visit us at www.curoprivatewealth.com. Until next time, live richly.